Welcome back to the Rowan's Podcast. I am the Rowan. This is episode number 34. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, a nice comfy chair, and maybe a warm blanket, given the weather outside, and let's have a chat. I myself have a nice hot cup of coffee. I was tempted to get some hot chocolate, given the fact that it's wintry and blustery outside, but why mess with tradition? I'm going to continue with hot coffee. I have a thing with coffee cups. How many of you out there have collections of things? And write it down in the comments of what you collect or what your special interest is. I myself have coffee cups, although I have whittled that down some to where I don't buy them as often as I used to, because I had 2 cabinets full of coffee cups, plus above my cabinets and in the pantry a few shelves with coffee cups on them, which they're mostly still there, but I did get rid of a lot already. Oh, and and I have some hanging on a wall with a thing I bought for my work. So yeah. Anyways, so I have a lot of coffee cups. I have gotten rid of quite a few, but it was down to where it was manageable, but then I bought a few more. I've been trying not to. In my defense, I haven't bought any in quite a while. I've been really trying to cut back on, that. But I have my Christmas coffee cups that come out only during Christmas season. There are a couple that I have year round that stay out only because I like them, the color. But so I do switch out my coffee cups, which is why some of them are in the pantry. But right now I'm drinking out of my UN X-Force Merry Band of Pirates coffee mug. And this is a coffee mug that I ordered off the internet. There's a book by Craig Ellenson called Columbus Day. And actually it's a whole series, Expeditionary Force series. It's a sci-fi series where these hamster-like looking critters, aliens come and they attack the Earth, and these lizard, type creatures, come to our defense, and mayhem and whatnot ensues from there. So, and he's got like, I'm not sure how many books he's up to, 18, I think now, with like that series and then an offshoot series that he writes with it. And it's really good. It sounds goofy the way I'm explaining it, but no, it is really good. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And I wish that they would make a movie out of it. But anyways, I couldn't miss out buying this coffee cup because in the book, it was a big deal about how they got these coffee cups made on their spaceship. And anyways, I'm going off on a tangent, but that is my deal. I like my coffee cups. So, what is your collection? What is your favorite thing to collect? Like some people collect, I don't know, maybe, I hate to be stereotypical, trains, or fidget toys. I collect those too. I also collect Lego things. But coffee cups by far. By far, are what I collect. So, that being said, information you really didn't want to know about, but I gave to you anyways. There you know. So now we're going to go on with what our subject is for today, which it has nothing to do with coffee cups, by the way. I just brought that in. Today's topic, I wanted to talk about, and this I believe is a really important issue to talk about. When caring for an individual with mental health issues, as a caregiver, it can be very stressful. It can be very, very difficult, especially during the different times of periods of life. And like, say you're a parent that has a child with special needs or has mental health issues, and there's different stress levels, there's different things that are putting stress on you, and it also is like different parts of their lives from when they were younger to when they're teenagers to when they're transitioning into adulthood. Also, it comes with all new sorts of different worries when that happens, when your child ages out of programs and stuff into the adult world. Then the whole new set of rules of HIPAA laws and everything. I mean, just everything just changes. But there's a lot of stress and a lot of things that goes on with the caregiver, and I think caregivers really need to have more supports than what they do. I mean, I know, like, from when I was dealing with my son, my oldest son there, we'll call him Buddy, so I don't want to say his name. When I was dealing with Buddy, there really, when he was younger, there really wasn't a whole lot of stuff either for autism and stuff. But as he, transitioned into adulthood, I mean, there was nothing. There was really nothing. And the program that they did have was not even worth bothering. But I know as time has passed over the years, there's been more this and more that. So, I mean, there has been a major improvement. But I wanted to talk about how being a caregiver, how it affects us. We'll get right into this. I found the Mental Health America website, and I was going through some of this and some of their facts and figures that they have. And I wanted to share these, and then we'll go on to some other information that I have about this. So this is Mental Health America. I can't find a date on this, but I will tell you what the title says: Recognize and support loved ones with mental health conditions. So some of these facts here, it says it's estimated that over 60 million adults, 23.4% in the United States, experienced a mental health condition in 2024. 14.6 million adults, 5.6% in the U.S., had a serious mental health condition that limited their ability to function. And it's explaining what mental health conditions are. It says that there are more than 200 clinically defined mental health conditions, including depression, anxiety disorders, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is ADHD, which I myself wonder why it's still considered a mental health disorder. I mean, I know it's just a different brain wiring, but, I guess. The reason why I keep nattering on about it being a different brain wiring is it is. You can see the brain scans of a person with ADHD and a brain scan of a neurotypical person, and it has shown that, like when a baby is born, and if they have a neurotypical brain, as they grow, like they're born with all these little pathways and all these little synapses, okay, but as they grow, the brain prunes off a lot of synapses and stuff that aren't being used or that's not going to be used because of the neurotypical brain. So it pares that all down. It's like pruning a rose bush, okay, for you gardeners out there. So you're pruning off all this stuff that you don't need, that you're not going to use. But an ADHD brain or a neurodivergent brain does not prune that off. All them extra synapses, all them extra whatever are still in the brain. And those don't get pruned. So we got all this wiring and stuff that are still firing in our brain. That is why, why we notice every sight, sound, smell. That's everything all at once. That's why our brain goes like it goes, like all, there's just so much happening in our brain. We haven't pruned that down. So it's not necessarily mental health, in my opinion, just my lowly opinion. Because of this fact, it is not a mental health disorder. It is, and I don't know if you would consider that even a brain disorder. It's just a different wiring of the brain, literally a different wiring of the brain. We have more lights, bells, and whistles in our brains than a neurotypical does. Doesn't mean we're better. It just means we have to weave through all the little weeds in our garden of our brain versus neurotypicals they have clear cut pathways where they can just walk through, and because all the weeds have been gone out, if you understand what I mean. So sorry. So yeah, they also list post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse disorder, eating disorders, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia. And they can be caused by a combination of environmental and biological factors. This one. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about was how caring for a mental health patient or person who has mental illness, how being a caregiver for someone in that situation, how it affects the caregiver. And I want to be honest with you, I have had many start and stops on this episode. And this is probably like my 8th attempt at this today. And I think the reason why I'm struggling is I am pretty much unmasked today. And so let's have fun with that. So if I'm struggling in this episode, if I wander off a little bit, have patience with me. So I really feel this is important to talk about because there's not enough, there's not near enough supports for those who care for people with mental health challenges and issues. There really isn't. There's a lot of stress involved. It can cause a lot of damage in relationships too. Like if you're a spouse and you're caring for a spouse who has mental health issues, if you're a parent-child, brother, sister, parent, grandparent, or grandparent, parent, grandparent, grandchild, or just friends. You're just friends with someone in your care. It doesn't matter what the relationship is. It can cause problems. And the impacts are socially, financially, mental health, physically, all sorts of impacts. And that's what we're going to discuss. And a lot of my starting and stopping is because I put a lot of my own experiences into some of this stuff. And I want to pare some of that back because otherwise my experience is going to take over the entire thing. Because if you want to know what my entire experience is in taking care of my oldest son, contact me and we'll chat. But I don't want to put everything in on here because it would be a very long episode. But I will put a little bit in there about him, and I will put a little bit in about my husband's frustrations in dealing with me. But so here we go. So the caregivers can have a lot of emotional distress. It can lead to social isolation and burnout. And like emotional distress, you feel hopeless. And you feel guilt sometimes and shame. Now, I felt guilt and shame for not being able to do enough for my son, for Buddy. Feel like I should be able to have done more. And hopeless because not knowing what to do. And especially when he was little, I didn't have really any help. Like his father was unavailable to get any help with, at least unavailable to me. And I'm not going to get into why, but it just was. And I know he loved his son, so that's not the problem. Just take it as it was not available. And so I was trying to figure it out, trying to help him, and very sad that I couldn't, and felt shame because like I wasn't doing what I should, wasn't a good enough mom, you know. And then not having a whole lot of supports, through. I did finally get some supports through the school, but through like professional supports for him, there was some, but it is very limited, and it got even worse when he became an adult. And if I can a little bit later, I will go through some of the changes that occur when you do have a child that's transitioning into adulthood, and the new challenges that you have to face because it's a whole new ballpark. But right now, I'm just talking about just in general, whatever age. the effects it has on a caregiver. And the social isolation, yes, you can feel very, very much so isolated, especially if you have no one else that you know that's in the same situation, or you don't have a group that you can go to and talk to, like a support group. I mean, I wish there was. I did try to start one on Facebook years ago, a parents of children that have special needs Facebook support group. I think I managed to get like one member, I think. Maybe two. It didn't go anywhere. And so I'm sure there are more out there. I'm sure there are more. It's just mine didn't go anywhere, but I'm sure there's probably more. But it can be very isolating, even if you do have a Facebook social group, you know what I mean, a Facebook group, support group. You can still feel very lonely because they're only there when you're online. I mean, are they going to be there in the middle of the night when your child is screaming and having a meltdown and you're doing your best to calm him down so he doesn't hurt himself or themselves? Or, you know, are they going to be there with you in the car when your child is, trying to grab the steering wheel and throw you off into an oncoming traffic? That type of thing. You need, and that has happened to me. um, you need to know that, hey, like when that happened, if that happens to anybody, you need to know that, hey, there's somebody I can go to get help. There's somebody I can go to support me in this, who will understand, hey, things like that. Support groups are fine if it's on the internet, but they're very limited in what they can do. And burnout. Oh my gosh, yes, you can get so burnt out, overwhelmingly tired, because you're putting all your effort, all your love, all your empathy into caring for this person and trying to help them. And depending on what they've got going on, they will push back. Like they'll defy everything you're trying to help them with. Like my son, anytime I try to help him with it, he'll complain about he has this issue or about that issue, and I will give him solutions, and he won't take it. Like, everything is too loud for me, Mom. Well, okay. Noise canceling earphones. Can't wear them. Okay. How about earplugs? Can't wear those. Doesn't work. Okay. What about a fan? Turn a fan on, you get some white noise. No, it's too windy in here. It'll dry my skin. And I can't breathe and whatever it'll be. Okay. Why not you listen to music? I don't like to listen to music. Why don't you put a TV show on or something? No, I don't want to watch it. Didn't matter what. And to this day, he still complains about noises. And I have given him everything I could possibly think of, short of, I don't even know. So yeah, I mean, and that can lead to burnout, because no matter what you try, sometimes it just and they help it. And then if you're not getting the help that you need from any supports, then you get frustrated. And so then caregivers frequently experience anxiety and fear. I mean, yeah, your fear for your child, the person who you're caring for, your fear for yourself, because sometimes they can, sometimes depending on the issue, they may have violent outbursts. So you fear for your safety. Now, I myself, honestly, I have not made it a secret. I am afraid to be alone with my son. And my husband has flat out forbade me to ever, ever, ever do anything alone with him. The last, not just the fear for them, but the fear for yourself too. Like the fear that you're going to get hurt. Not everyone's like that though. Not everyone's like that. It's fear of, hey, am I going to do right by this child? Am I going to be able to help them? Are they going to be able to have a future? And what happens when I'm not around anymore? What happens when I can't do it anymore? Like for me, my fear was, well, when I was his guardian, because I'm not anymore, I stopped being his guardian 2 years ago. But my fear was, what's going to happen to him if I get too old and I can't be guardian? Well, I had asked his daughter, or not his daughter, wow, my daughter, his sister, if she would be willing to become guardian in the event that I couldn't do it. And we were getting that set up, and we were talking about getting that set up to where she could do that. But there did come a point where I could no longer do it, and it passed to another lady, and he didn't like that lady, so it passed to his grandpa. And my fear now is, I still have fear. My fear now is his grandpa is elderly, and his grandmother also, and I don't know how long that's going to last. And I'm really afraid the next step is they're just going to not have a guardian for him at all. And my biggest fear is he'll be left to his own devices, and it'll just be really bad. So fear never stops, whether you're a guardian, a caregiver or not. It never stops. You always have a fear of some sort. So it can be overwhelming. It can be overburdening. It can cause a lot of anxiety, depression, all that stuff. It also leads to financial strain, especially if you are providing a lot of the financial support for this person. I was lucky that he got disability, so most of his things were paid for. We were able to get food for him. We were able to buy clothes for him. We were able to pay for his medical and his mental health care, things like that. And then when he moved out, I did end up have him move out on his own. So then that paid for the place where he lived. And it wasn't a mental health facility where he lived, but it was an adult foster home. That's what they're calling a lot of these places now, adult foster homes. And that paid for his room and board and his food and stuff like that. But he did get a food card, so he was able to get other stuff besides just what they had. But and then he had a teeny tiny bit left for spending money, which is not much. It'd be like $23 a month, I think, for spending money. I don't understand. The state said that's all he needed. I don't understand, but whatever. But while they're living with you, there's a lot of financial strain. And I did have financial, you do sometimes have financial strain if you're driving them someplace, or say they need extra things that, like maybe they don't have disability, and they need help with that. There's also a risk to your own physical health. I mean, if you're under that amount of stress and you're always on alert and you're always, worried and stuff, that physical health and I had a list of some of the physical stuff, and hang on. There, I say insomnia and fatigue, but I know that I seen one that said, and I wrote it down. I know I wrote it down. Where'd it go? Hang on. Increased risk of heart disease, headache, migraine, gastrointestinal issues, and suppresses your immune system. The stress, the stress can act as a catalyst that does these things. It can also affect cognitive function like concentration, memory, and being able to do daily tasks. It can disrupt your sleep. It can cause emotional exhaustion such as overwhelm, burnout, and increase hopelessness. And it can sleep disruptions, and I can't read my own writing, so I gotta find it. I took the note off. It says accelerate something, and I can't read my own writing. I am so sorry. Oh, accelerates mental health issues. Yeah. And some of the supports that it's saying here that can be given to help caregivers. Now, this is one thing. Now, this is something that I'm going to talk about. There's something that I've done too here. Here we go. Key considerations for caregivers. Here we go. It says self-care is crucial. It is vital for caregivers to maintain their own physical and mental health to avoid burnout. So one of the key things would be to get like exercise. Now I'm not talking like you have to do a full-blown exercise routine or whatever. I mean, even just like increased physical activity, even if you're just taking a walk, or maybe you like sports, so go do a pickup basketball game or golf. Golf isn't all that strenuous unless you don't really like walking. There's a lot of walking involved. Mini golf. Ooh, that would be something really cool to do. You know what? We have a big field in our yard. I should ask my husband if we could build a mini golf course in the backyard. That would be amazing. I would be out there playing every day. Anyways, yes, I'm weird. And yes, I'm being unmasked. In any kind of physical activity, even if you're doing like 20 jumping jacks a day or I don't know, just anything. Put on a piece of music and dance around. I used to do that. I used to love to do that as a kid. And as I got older. And I don't do it so much because I have older kids in the house that would think I was weird. But when they were younger, what I used to do to relieve stress is they were young and I could just blare up the music and start dancing and they would dance with me. Because it was dance party time and that was the way I relieved stress. And they thought it was cool. It was fun. And yeah, my two youngest boys I did that with. I think with my daughter too, I did when she was real little, but not with Buddy. He was a parallel play kid and he might listen to the music, but that'd be it. Yeah, like any kind of, or maybe if you got into like doing a craft or an art or some sort of hobby or something to kind of take some of that mental load off. Now, what I used to do, sometimes I would, okay, so I'm old. Yeah, I still have a PlayStation 4. Okay. My husband has an Xbox 360, but that doesn't work very well now. But so the PlayStation 4, and I used to play Portal Knights, which is basically kind of sort of like Minecraft, but in my opinion, better. It has more of a storyline, and I can control it better. It has a better interface, I think, for me. Not that Minecraft is bad, because I know a lot of people like it, so I have nothing against it. I mean, I like it. I like the graphics on there, and I like to watch my kids play it, but I myself, I can't seem to. There's like a disconnect for me when I play. Anyways, so for me, if I was really stressed sometimes, I would go and sit and play Portal Knights and just build stuff. For me, that was and the weird thing is, I can't do Legos unless I have like a kit and I follow the directions. Like I don't have that in me to be able to be that creative. But if I'm playing Portal Knights, which basically is Legos when you think about it, because they're blocks and you're putting them together, I can build like the coolest stuff. The coolest castles, the coolest, with hidden walls and all sorts of, different things. And I even learned how to make a waterfall and a TV screen. I did all sorts of stuff. But yeah, and I used to do that. If I would sit and I would play, then I would de-stress. Like if I had like a brain block to be able to do my writing and stuff like that too, I would go and I would play and I would be fine afterwards. Just something about that. So if you find something like that to help you to de-stress, to avoid the burnout, that would be great. Seek support, joining support groups. And we kind of already talked about that. I kind of had one that I started from Facebook, but didn't really help. But I know there are some. I just didn't get a whole lot of traffic on mine. But there again, they're helpful, but they're not like in certain situations. I still think it's good because then, in the support group, there's potential to make a friend. And that friend, if you exchange numbers and stuff like that, and then maybe you can support each other 24/7 that way too. I suppose it's good that way. But it's also saying talking to professionals can help manage the emotional burden. They're recommending a therapist to help you while you're caring for your person. Now, this is what happened with me. Buddy had a therapist. Well, he had a couple. Like, they could never keep him in this place that we were working with. But he did have one that was really good, really good. She had a whiteboard that she used, and she would write things out and diagram things out and stuff like that. So it was like on his level. None of the other ones ever did that. They would just sit there and talk and look down their nose. And, this one had charts and graphs and write things out and ask him questions and, whatever. Very interactive, very whatever. Excellent, excellent woman. I really liked her. And he seemed to be doing fairly well with her. But one time she said something that totally ticked him off. He walked out of her thing and never went back. He refused to go back and talk to her ever again. But this is what happened. She allowed me to come and see her on a weekly basis and tell her the things I'm dealing with him. And she would give me strategies and ideas and supports on how to deal with this or that or whatever issue I was having with him. So in effect, he was getting support through the support I was getting that I needed because I was dealing with him. So it was a good thing. And I really do think it is important that if we are dealing with caring for someone with a mental health illness, it is very important that we have someone to talk to. I really liked being able to go and see her because I was getting help with him because she knew it was very difficult for me. And she knew I needed support too. And she wanted to still be able to help him. So it was kind of like a trickle-down effect. And it worked for a while. It did. It really did. And I really appreciated her. She was amazing. This education. Understanding the specific mental health condition helps in providing better care and reducing stigma. Exactly. If you can find out as much information on whatever it is your person is dealing with, that can also relieve a lot of stress for you because at that point you will start to understand them a little bit more. Learn as much as you can about it. That's my thing. Learn as much as you can about it. And don't just go to Facebook and ask people on Facebook what their experiences are. Well, I take that back. Yes, you could do that. But don't use that as your only source and don't take that as exact fact because everyone's different and not everybody's going to be telling you the truth anyways. But everyone's different. And you need some real professional, real, honest to goodness information as well. So go to, and don't just pick any old website. I would go to like government mental health websites. I would scour whatever papers I could find, and some past ones, some new ones. I would compare the differences between the two of what they thought in the past, what they've learned now, how that trend, came about. Because sometimes some of the older stuff was correct, and sometimes they just kind of like shoved it off because, this new idea has come up and we're just going to tout this one instead because it sounds better. Sometimes that happens. Not all the time, sometimes. But even if they haven't, just knowing what they thought in the past can help you understand how they got to where they are now and how they've changed. And to me, I've also found out that is kind of like a hope thing, like finding out that they didn't think that women or girls could get ADHD in the 90s and that they know that they can now. To me, that gives me hope that it shows that, hey, they've looked into this. They're finally getting a clue. They're finally moving ahead. And now we've had, 30 years, my math's probably wrong, but 30-ish years of research, growing and growing and growing about women. So it's like a light shining brighter and brighter. So that can give you hope there too. But yeah, get as much information in as much reputable places as you can. Yes, social media is a good source because then you get personal accounts from people of what they've dealt with and what might help and what might. But keep in mind, everybody's different. Just because, say, they said this medication helps this person, it might not help the other person. Or, it didn't help us, but it might help this person. And one thing I do want to let caregivers understand, and those that they're dealing with, the people who they're taking care of, also need to understand this too. And this is a big one I've tried to teach my son. This is that when you're dealing with medications, particularly mental health medications, it is a process. It is not a one pill fits all size thing. And it's not one dosage level fits all sizes. It's not. You can spend months, sometimes even years, going from medication to medication before you find the one that fits you right, and before you find the one that fits you right in the correct dosage, because you could find one that's really good for you, but it might not be the right dosage. Or it might fit really good for you and the right dosage for you for a little while, then suddenly it's not working anymore, so then they might have to tweak the dosage, or they might have to add. It is a lifelong process, and it can be a long one. Now, sometimes you can get lucky and hit on it the first time, but it really depends on your body chemical makeup and on how your body reacts to it and how your mind reacts to it and how it's individualized. So don't let your doctor say, hey, I prescribed this pill to 50 billion people, so I know it should work for you because it's worked for all these other people, and have you expect that that's going to happen, because it might not. It might, but there's a chance it might not. And like for me, you can give me antibiotic cream and say it's an antibiotic cream. No one we know has ever had an allergic reaction to this because it's an antibiotic thing. So you'll be fine. Now, you put that antibiotic cream on me and I break out in hives super bad. I'm allergic. I'm the weird one. I'm the weird one that's allergic to hyperallergenic stitches. Okay, no one's allergic to this because it's hypoallergenic. Here, let's stitch your arm up. Well, I guess she's allergic. So that's my point in saying that. Don't think that it's just, okay, it's going to be work. The only reason why I'm saying this, and not saying this to frighten you, is just, I don't want you to get your hopes up like this doctor says it worked on all these other people, so it will work on this. And then when it doesn't, I don't want you to be like, well, what the heck? Like to be caught off guard. Always go into it with the idea that we're going to see if this medication is going to work. We will see. Don't go into it, yes, this medication is going to work, because if it doesn't, it's going to frustrate that person who's taking that medication. And I've gotten that with Buddy before, where he won't take a medication. I have a hard time getting to take medications anyways. But one thing, he expects the medication to work right away. And a lot of these medications take sometimes 2 to 3, 4 weeks, sometimes a couple months, because it's got to get into the system and it's got to get built up into the system. And then there's the half-life. And you also have to understand, talk to your doctors completely about this medication. Whatever medication they give you, ask them all these questions. How long does it take to get into their system before it'll start work? What are the side effects? How soon can we expect those side effects? Do these side effects last, or do they go away over time? Are there any drug interactions or any food interactions that we need to be aware of? And should this medication not work, would it be a matter of adjusting the dosage, or would it be a matter of changing the dosage? And if we have to change this dosage, or if we have to stop it for some reason or another, how do we do it safely? Because there are some mental health medications that you cannot just stop taking, because if you stop taking, it can cause a psychosis. It can cause a real bad problem. And a lot of these medications, you need to wean yourself off. Well, not yourself. The doctor needs to wean you off. And it needs to be done very carefully. My son has just dropped medications like this before, and it has not worked out well. And I've, he's now learned that because of that, he's now learned he has to, slowly get weaned off from it, and you need to do it with the doctor's guidance, because these medications are something to not mess around with. Just ask. And if you don't know all the questions to ask, I can give you a list of the ones I recommend. Doesn't mean that they're all the questions that you need. It's just ones that I recommend. Well, I've already said most of them, so replay it, I guess. Or you can contact me. But they're just things that I've learned to ask about, because sometimes I do know that doctors don't check interactions with medications before they give them to you. Like they'll ask you, all right, what are you taking? You'll have a med list and they'll add more to it, but sometimes they don't check whether they interact with the other medications you're taking. They just note it down there. And supposedly the pharmacists are supposed to check this stuff. So that's another thing I want to tell you. If you get prescriptions filled for the person you're caring for, don't just ask the doctor, because the doctor is not a pharmacist. He will look up maybe in a book, he or she will look up in a book, like whether it is or whether it's not, but it's only the books that they have hanging out there where they're at. The pharmacist, however, that is their job specifically. They will have all the information they need to know and the time to do it. Because this doctor is probably in a hurry to get you out the door so he can see his next patient. Talk to your pharmacist. When you get new medications, anytime you change medications, get new medications, change the dosage, whatever, you talk to them and you ask them, is there any interactions with what I'm currently taking? Oh, and cold medicines. Ask them that too. Will this medication have any interactions with whatever cold medicine it is that you take? And ask them, if it does, ask them what is the right one to take. Because I've dealt with that before. I've had that problem before. Because it's something most people don't think of, and most doctors don't think of, and most pharmacists don't think of. Oh, hey, well, if this person gets sick, they're going to be taking this, and they're going to be taking that. Like NyQuil is a big no-no for me to take with my medications that I've got. Very bad no-no with very bad outcome. So I can't take NyQuil. I can take Dayquil because it doesn't have the stuff in that NyQuil has. Things like that. So just ask your pharmacist. Go to them always. And they have all the books and they have the time. That is their job, specifically their job. And talk to the pharmacist, not their assistant, not the ones that just put the pills in the bottles, because they're not the ones that train for that. Talk to the actual pharmacist. Go there and ask for the pharmacist. Don't just talk to the lady at the counter because they're like, they may say, okay, we'll go ask the pharmacist, but I would not let those words go from your mouth to his ears or her ears. Sorry, I keep saying him. I'm old school. Him could mean, for me, it could be just a pharmacist. It could be a boy or a girl. But I'm used to it being boys. So let it go from your mouth to the pharmacist's ears, okay? Don't put a middleman in the middle. And that way you know for sure it's correct information. If all else fails, go online. There's sites online, reputable ones that'll show you what your interactions are. But even then, I would check a few, because some might go in more depth, some might not. Keep in mind, though, this is one thing, and I know it's a lot of information, and I'm going on and on. Ask a lot of questions of your pharmacist on any medication. And I'm not even sure how I got on this rant. Sorry. Oh, the education. That's what it was. Okay. And it says, understanding the specific mental health condition helps providing better care and reducing stigma. And yes, it can reduce stigma, because if you know, you can actually put a better, I hate to say it this way, a better defense for this person. Like, you'll know how to stand up for them better. I'm not exactly sure how to put that. Like, okay, me and my pet peeve about, ADHD being a disorder and being a mental health illness, when it's not, it's just a brain wiring thing. I know this, and people stigmatize it. Oh yeah, well, it's just a mental health disorder. You got some mental health problems. Well, no. Now I've been educated. Now I know. It's a bunch of extra synapses in the brain that causes more firing in the brains, and the neurotypical brain's just more weeds in there, and then it's covering up the garden kind of thing. Nothing wrong with it. So now that I know that, I don't feel so stigmatized. I don't feel so whatever, and I can maybe impart some information onto that other person, like, hey, the other non-stigmatized thing is kids with autism, meltdowns. Go to a store, have a meltdown, and a little ball yelling and screaming, crying, putting their arms over their head, covering their ears, covering their whatever. And the stigma is, well, this child is misbehaving. Why doesn't that parent, the parent gets stigmatized too. Why doesn't the parent control that child? That's a bad parent right there. Can't control their kid. Well, they shouldn't even bring that kid here if they know they can't control their kid. All right. What you do there, you know what autism's about. You know that this is a meltdown. You know that your child is having a hard time dealing with the world around him. Too much noise, too much whatever, whatever. I explained in an earlier episode about Buddy. When he was in Head Start, he would curl up in a ball for 45 minutes at a time. His hands, his arms and stuff over his head. He would just in like this big ball, his hands over his ears, and he would just scream and screech as loud as he could in this tiny little ball. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand it, and the teachers were frustrated. No one could get him to stop, and it was all the time constant. Well, I got educated and I found out, this wasn't until years later when he finally got his autistic diagnosis, because we didn't even know at that time. The doctors wouldn't touch it. I couldn't get help from the doctors. I think they were afraid of stigmatizing him by putting a label on him. That's how it was back then. Well, once he turned third grade, once I finally got the educational diagnosis, then I looked back and I'm like, I figured it out. I understood. He was in a meltdown because he was in Head Start. There was so much noise, so many kids, so much movement, so much light, nonstop go, everything around him. He didn't understand the world that he was in, like an alien in an alien world type of thing. And he was in that ball to put himself in a protective space. He was covering his ears and covering his eyes and his head to just block out the noise, the light, and whatever. And he was screeching as loud as he could to drown out all other noise except for him. And that was like his protective space. That's why he was doing it. But to everyone else around, he was being a bad kid. He was throwing a temper tantrum. He was spoiled. He was whatever. He was uncontrollable. He was, had I known all this at that age, I could have said to them, hey, this is what's going on. He's having a meltdown. He needs to be in a quiet space. We need to move him to a quiet space. And you need to not touch him when you do that either, because he would get violent. But we need to somehow move him to a quiet space, or move everybody else into a different part of the, or shut off the lights and have everybody be quiet, or something. Give him some quiet space so he can decompress, so he can, so he can whatever. Because if you have the education, you know what it is, you can educate the other people, and then they can help your son, or they can just not be jerks. And then I also mentioned another episode, that same episode, about a lady who her son was having a meltdown in the middle of the store, and she had these little cards written down on them that, hey, my son is not a bad kid or whatever. She wrote, he's just having a hard time. He's autistic, and the world around him is too much for him. And she would hand these cards out to the people because she got tired of people gathering around staring at her son and saying this and saying that about her and about him. So she would have these cards printed up, and she would just hand them out because it was a regular thing. And she would hand them out to people to educate them. I mean, that gives you power. You have education and you have knowledge. That gives you power. And that gives you strength, personal strength, to build yourself up, to deal with this. There was something else that I had wrote too. Oh, yeah. It is important to remember that support carers can become more resilient, and individuals with mental health issues can manage their symptoms effectively. So basically it's saying that the people who are dealing with this can become, because they're dealing with this, can become more resilient, can become more stronger, can become whatever. And I believe that to be true, because I've gotten stronger over the years in fighting for him and understanding and being educated and stuff. And I'm not perfectly educated on this, but I'm trying. Oh, there is one thing that I do want to put in here too. It says establish boundaries. Setting limits on caregiving responsibilities can help maintain personal well-being. That is key. That is a big key here, because setting boundaries was a very difficult thing for me to do. Like when my son first came to live with me at 15, I doted all over him, because he was living with me, and I could finally had a chance to help him. I had finally had the chance to do for him what he needed, and I walked on eggshells for quite a bit. I doted on him. I probably started the whole thing off the wrong way, and I didn't set clear boundaries on things. And I did end up doing that because my husband stepped in and was like, hey, no, boundaries. You need to do boundaries. So then when the boundaries come, then he kind of poked up against the boundaries all the time, pushing and pushing and pushing. A lot of times he would break through those boundaries, of what I could do for him or what I felt that he should do for himself, and what I was able to do for him. A lot of times I let those boundaries slip, and it became a habit until he turned probably about 20. And my husband put his foot down and said, that's it. You have got to put these boundaries. Because you do not have these boundaries, it is stressing you out. It is causing you way too much trouble. I had panic attacks. I had my heart going flippy-doo. I have to be into the hospital, to get it straightened out. Crying attacks, just, worrying all the time for him, worrying, like I can't do, he's wanting me to do this, wanting me to do that, won't take no for an answer, things like that. And it was just so much. And I finally started to put boundaries in. Then there was the fighting with the boundaries. Like, why all of a sudden you're not doing this? Why all of a sudden, because you're able to do this yourself. Well, you're able to do this yourself. And I started telling him that, started showing him that you are able to do these things. You think you can't, but you can. You are able to clean your kitchen. Now, if your kitchen is a complete disaster, you can't hardly walk through it because there's so much garbage and so much dishes and so much whatever. I get you're not going to want to do the whole thing all at once, but you can clean it. No, I can't. I don't know how. Baloney, you do too know how. You've done dishes before. As a matter of fact, I see dishes in your dish drainer that you have washed. Therefore, you know how to wash dishes. Don't tell me you don't know how. Then I would break it down. The boundary was, do your dishes. But if you can't do all your dishes, just do the plates one time. Then go back later, do the cup. Go back later, do the silverware. Do one little bit at a time. But you can do this. Because he would want me to come to the house, clean the house for him. Want me to come to the house, do the dishes for him. Want me to do his laundry for him. Want me to, clean up or whatever. And, for a little while I did here and there, but then I was like, nope, not doing it because I know he knows how to do that. And I had to set that boundary. And the key with setting boundaries is you need to stick to them because if you don't, you're cutting off your own foot, basically. You need those boundaries. You need those boundaries for yourself so you have some personal space as well. They need those boundaries so they can learn to do things themselves. Now, not everybody, not everyone that you're taking care of or that's being taken care of is going to be able to do those things. Not everybody will be able to do their dishes. Not everybody will be able to do their laundry, things like that. Maybe there are some things that they can do, that you can teach them to do, that they'll be able to do. And that boundary will be that, no, that is yours, this is mine, type of thing. And boundaries on your time. Well, hey, I've had just this amount of time, or we can do A, B, and C, and this is it, because you need to have time for yourself, too. And it's not being selfish. Me, I overloaded it. I did everything for him, everything for my other kids, and I never really had time for myself. And I was just so drained all the time. And most of the energy for a while went towards him. And the other kids kind of didn't get much. That's not good either. There need to be boundaries there too. It's not a bad thing to put boundaries, to say, hey, I can only come over and visit you for an hour because I need to go do this with this other person, or I have a doctor's appointment, or whatever. There's nothing wrong with putting a boundary there, but you need to do that for yourself. And it also helps them too. It can also help set, like, if you have a child that really needs routines, you can set that routine. That routine is your boundary. Hey, every Tuesday from 1 to 2, I will be over there and we'll visit. Or every Wednesday from 3 to 5, we'll do laundry together, or it'll be a teaching laundry day or something. Something. But you could also say, hey, Saturday afternoons from noon to 4, that's my time. I do what I'm going to do, whatever I want to do. Like if I choose to spend time with you, that's cool. If I choose to go shopping by myself, or if I choose to watch a movie on my TV while I'm laying in bed, that's what I'm going to do. Boundaries. And that will help. That will be a big help. Another thing I want to say about self-care is go do something for yourself. Like even if you're going to go, like, say, get, like, ladies, I'm not talking about go get this huge makeover bouffant hairstyle, but sometimes, at least I find it relaxing, sometimes go to the hair salon and just have your hair, have it trimmed or something, or have it washed and conditioned. You can go in I think you can just go in for a deep conditioning or something. I think my friend Sue would know if that's the thing, if you're able to do that. Drop me a line, Sue, if they do that anymore, where people can just go in and get their hair done and just condition. But anyways, it's just doing something for yourself, or go to your local restaurant, order a cup of coffee, sit in a booth with a book and read, or go grab yourself a cup of hot chocolate or some ice cream or something. And I know one thing I wanted to do this year that I haven't had a chance to go do is I wanted to go to our local ski hill and go sit by the fire and read a book and some hot chocolate. I haven't been able to do that. Been wanting to do that for the last 3 years. Haven't been able to do that. But like anything like that. Take a bubble bath, hot shower, something. Anything that's just you, even if it's 5-10 minutes. That's self-care. That's self-help. And it's important. It's important to focus on yourself for a little bit. You reconnect with yourself because when you're doing for others, you'll lose that connection with yourself. You really do. You lose that connection and then you don't know who you are anymore. And then you've lost and then you feel really isolated and alone because now you're lost. You spend all this time helping other people and caring for other people and you don't know who you are anymore. And if you know who you are and you reconnected with yourself, then you're that much better at helping the other person. You just become more resilient, you become stronger, you become better for that other person. Because if you're burnt out, just drugged down, mentally, physically exhausted, you're no help to the other person. Not at all. So that's my take on it all. And I went way over. And this is going to be a really long one because I have to edit and splice in some stuff from separate tries as I'm mashing everything together. Hopefully it's seamless. We will see. Yeah, I did want to talk about this. As a person with neurodivergency, let's say, with autism and ADHD. Now, the hubby here has ADHD as well. But like I've said before, he manages it very well. I have severe inattentive ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. So I present more of a challenge to him than he does to me. And I will tell you from his point of view, from what I understand his point of view, is it is very difficult to deal with me. That is because I forget things a lot. I don't hear half the things he tells me because my brain just doesn't pick it up. And I don't remember things I've said or done sometimes. There's whole blocks of areas I don't remember because my brain isn't, catching it in. And yet there are times where I will remember things crystal clear down to the minutest detail. And it's really weird. I can't predict when it does that, but it does. And then my odd quirkiness and the way that I think, which is totally different than most people, it's very difficult for him. See my episode. I have him on there. And you'll find out a little bit more. It is difficult for him. One thing I want to say about that is if you're dealing with someone and it is very difficult for you to complain about it to them, it can be hard on that person because they can feel like they're a burden. They can feel like they can never do anything right. They can feel like, I don't know, like they're not good enough. And it causes a lot of stress on them too. So if you're having relationship struggles, taking care of your loved one or the person you're taking care of, be kind as best as you can. And I know I try my husband's patience, and I know that I snap very easily. I do crab very easily because I tend to misunderstand things. I take things too literally, so I misunderstand a lot. But kindness is key. And I know it's very hard to be kind all the time, especially when the person's being crabby. But they don't mean to do it on purpose. They're not like, I'm just going to be a jerk. I'm just going to be crabby and be, whatever. It's just what happens. Just know that that person that you're caring for is stressing too. And they're worried about their relationship with you as well, just as much as you're worried about them and their relationship with you, or your relationship with them, if you get what I mean. Both sides are worried about it on both sides. And there needs to be kindness and compassion on both sides. Some people that you might be dealing with may not be able to have that reciprocity. I can't even say that word right. Where they understand that their actions hurt you, but they do understand that your actions hurt them. My son is like that. He doesn't understand that his actions can hurt me, but yet he knows my actions can hurt him. He doesn't understand that. It goes both ways. So some people don't understand that. Be aware of that and gently and politely explain it to them in ways that they can understand. Be like, look, you know how when I said A, B, and C, how it hurt your feelings? Well, that happens for me too. Like I get my feelings hurt too when you say A, B, and C, or you do A, B, and C. You know, that I feel that way too. You know, connect on that level. And that really does help. And I know I'm bopping all over the place here, and I know I babbled on and I've said a lot of things, and I don't know if I made sense to anybody. And if I did not, put me a message in the comments. If there's something you're unclear about in here, comment, let me know. If there's information in here that you want me to improve on or change or want more about, pop me a comment. I will answer anybody who messages me, so long as it's polite. I will answer everyone. And yes, I am kind of saying this because I do want comments. And yes, but I want to know what people are thinking and feeling, and I want to know if I'm helping at all, and I want to know how I can improve to help and what you would like to hear or see or learn. I want to know these things, and I want to get better. I want to get better at doing this. So please drop me a message on here. And I think my email's listed on here. I'm not sure. If it's not, message me and I'll message you back with it. But and also just let you know, Mr. Rich Featherly did give me the red light or the green light there. Green light there. I can send his slides to anyone who wants to see them from the Fight, Flight, or Freeze episode. He'd be more than willing to share them with you. I was looking at trying to make it into like a slideshow and adding it up here with his lecture on it, but I don't have the right. I lost my Word program because I couldn't pay for it, so I can't. And so maybe when my job gets better, I can get more equipment and stuff and figure that one out. Or I can use someone else's computer and do it, maybe. Anyways, because I thought that would be really cool just to have it redone with the slideshow. Or maybe I'll upload it, do like another one with him, and upload it on YouTube. That's the other thing I want to say. I did get my podcast up on YouTube. However, there is no video ones yet, but I am in the progress of doing that. As soon as I can win the internet wars with my son, and I don't get kicked off the internet trying to upload a gigabyte video I have, it'll be up there. But it'll be the video, the one that I was originally doing, that only the audio would go up on Spotify. I still have the video for that. So it'll just be me doing that one over again, but with pictures. It'll be, what did they call those back in the old days? The pictured one? Talkies? No, that was when they added sound to it. The picture show. It'll be a picture show. Anyways, I'm getting slap happy, I guess. Thank you for dealing with the Unmask Me today. And I appreciate everyone stopping by, and I have a lot of editing to do. I don't know if this will be up tonight, but we'll find out. Shout out to Executive Creative Assistant Sue, our other staff member on board. Keep in mind, none of these positions are paid employee positions. They're just positions. But just staff positions. But mostly fun titles. But yeah. So shout out to all of them. Shout out to my 5 followers. Sue, Mr. Richard Featherly, Bear, I believe Pal, and I'm not sure who the other one is. But thank you all. I appreciate all of you listening in, and thank you to everyone else who is listening in. Everyone from the United States, which is the majority of my listeners. And thank you so much to you in Germany and you in Australia. I really appreciate you all the way over there. I am really appreciative. Thank you so much. If you folks from over there have any ideas of any kind of topic, feel free to drop me a line. Any topic at all. Mostly any topic at all, I'll say. But definitely no politics. Anyways. But I would love to hear from anybody. Anybody want to pop a line in here? I would love to hear from anybody. And if you want to be a speaker on here, just to talk about whatever, it could be your favorite book, your favorite movie, it could be your favorite dog. I don't care what it is. We can have a talk so long as it's political. Most subjects I will handle. Mostly, I want to do stuff that brings light to the world that maybe can help people or just bring a smile. Those type of topics. That's what I'm looking for. So, you all have a safe and blessed day or evening, depending on when you're listening to this. I myself am looking at an evening, probably filled with a blizzard. So, you have a nice day. Thank you so much. You all matter, and you're all important. More later. Bye.